Okay, good evening. We're up to today's daf is Yudalid. We're up to your Gimel Amid Beis. And just to reiterate, the Mishnah, we had a machloikis between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon. Exactly what where did the Kahanim get their kapara for Shara Veros? Where did they get their kapara for Shara Veros? Everyone agrees that for Tumas Mikdash Ukadashav, everyone agrees for Tumas Mikdash Ukadashav, the Kahanim got their kapara from the par. Even Rabbi Yehuda says that. And however, and Rav Shimon agrees. However, regarding the kohen b'shar mitzvahs, according to Rabbi Yehuda, the Bnei Yisrael and the Kahanim got kapara from the Seir Mishtaleach, and Rav Shimon is of the opinion that no. Rav Shimon is of the opinion that what the Seir Mishtaleach was for Klal Yisrael, then the Kahanim they got their kapara from the par. They got from the par. Okay, we're 17 lines up. Man tana lahad tana rabbanan. Okay, it says v'shachat. It says v'shachat es aser achatas. It says that v'shachat aser achatas hashalom, and they would shech the chatas shalom. Shein kahanim eschapim ba. So they did this. The ser that was done inside. Right, that was for the The Kahanim did not get a kapara. They didn't get a kapara. So that was for Tumas Mikdash Ukadashov, when it was what that you didn't have you had a yedi in the beginning, but not a yedi in the end. What did they get kapara in the par of Aron? I might think they don't get the kapara there. It says the pasuk says Asheloi. The pasuk says. I'm just a lot of pesukim today. Tesvav Vav. The pasuk says the hikr of Aaron is parachatas ashalo. Aaron will bring the par that is to him. The chiper badoy ubad beisoy. You'll be mechaper for him and his house, meaning his wife. So it does mashma guys. The kahanim don't seem to be out. It says one pasuk says la'om, just for Klal Yisrael. The other one where it says by the par of the kohen, it says ashaloi. It's mashma only for him. So where do kahanim get their kapara from? Miata elim kapara kishuoim yechaper al kahanim, but in pasuk lamed gimel, guys, it says the chiper esmigdash hakodesh ves oil moyed vesam izbechi chaper. We had this pasuk yesterday. Val kahanim, right, and the kahanim. So you see that they did get a kapara, but where did they get the kapara from, guys? If it's the par of Aaron, it says loy. If it's the sayer of Klal Yisrael, it says la'am. So where did this kapara coming from? So, Asher Yichapa LaKahanim Etzinu Lehem Kapara. B'mahim Mischaprim. Where they get their kapara from? So, Mutav Sheyischapru B'Parish Shel Aroin. In other words, obviously they have to get a kapara. It can be one of two things. It can be the sayer of the klal, or what it can be par of Aroin. Which one would they get it from? So, Mutav better Sheyischapru B'Parish Shel Aroin. They should get a kapara with the par of Aroin. Shari Huta Mechlolo Yetzel Beisai. Guys, when it says V'chiper Bado Bad Beiso, it says Asheloi. What does Shalom mean? Only for him. But then it says in the same pasuk, "V'chiper ba'adoi u'ba'ad beisai." So you see that loy is lav dafka. You're including beisai. In other words, you're not limited to him. So when it said beisai, put the mechlolai. So therefore, it makes sense. Once it's open for somebody else, we'll put the kahanim over there, rather than asher la'am, which is unique to the It said only asher la'am. So guys, so right now we're holding that this in this brisa that the kahanim are going to get the kapara from what? From the par of Aaron. Now v'im nafshecha loymar, and if your nefesh says, this always means that if you have a kasha on what I just said, and the Gemara is always going to ask what exactly is that kasha. V'im nafshecha loymar. If you have a kasha, hari oimer, it says Beis Aaron berchu es Adonai, Beis Alon berchu es Hashem, Beis Alevi berchu es Hashem, Yiras Hashem berchu es Hashem. Okay, that's the brisa. That's the brisa. Now, if I'd ask you who the Tan of this brisa is, you would tell me it's Rav Shimon, guys, because you're telling me the kahanim are getting the kapara from the par. Like Rabbi Yehuda, the kahanim getting the kapara from what? From now, be aware the kahanim did get a kapara from the par for koyin Tumas Mikdash Ukadashav. In other words, they don't have shaykhis at all. The question is, where's Shara Averos? Where do they get the kapara for the other Averos? So right now, I would think that this, if you're asking me, is it Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Shimon? I say it's Rabbi Shimon. And when it says Asher Lepar, it's speaking about all of the Averis. They're going not only Knemis Mikdash Kedashav, but even Shar Averis. They'll be Mischaper Al Yedei the par that's Hutta Mechlolai because it says Beisai. Even though it says Asheloi, it says Beisai. So therefore, you see Asheloi is Lav Dafka. So we'll include them in regarding the Kahanim. Says the Gemara. Rabbi Yirmiyah, Man Who's the Tana of this long brisa that we just stated? Rav Yirmiyah, they're like Rabbi Yehuda. It's not Rabbi Yehuda. You know why? He Rabbi Yehuda, Kahanim yesh lekapara b'seim mishtaleach. Right? So umani. So good. I understand that it's not what? It's not Rabbi Yehuda. So who's money? Who else is it? So Rabbi, let's go. Rabbi Amar Rab Shimon he. It must be Rab Shimon, the Amar, Kahanim ein lehem kapara b'seim mishtaleach. So that would fit, fellas, right? Again, clearly in the Brisa, we said where the Kahanim get the kapara from. We can go one or two directions. We can go la'am. It says Asher la'am. We can go to the Kahanim. It says the Kohen Gadol says Asher loy. So, but we're going to go to the Kahanim Asher loy because it says v'chipe bado bad beso. So you see the loy is lav dafka loy. Therefore, beso will include there. So therefore, right now, Pashit Pshat, plain Pashit Gered, I would say we're speaking about every single Avera that the Kohen possibly can do, and then get through what? Through the par, which is of Shimon Shita. Okay? That's Rabbah. Abaya Amar, Afilu Tem Rabbi Yehuda. Now, how could it go according to Rabbi Yehuda? You know how? We're only speaking about Tumas Mikdash Kedashav. Because Rabbi Yehuda is Maida regarding Tumas Mikdash Kedashav that the Kahanim go to the par. Good? Afilu Tem Rabbi Yehuda. Hachi Kamar. Me'ata Emlim Kapara Betumas Mikdash Kedashav. Oh, they don't have a kapara for Tumas Mikdash Kedashav. When it says Yechaper Lo Kahanim in Pasuk Lamed Gimel Tezayin Lam Gimel, Matzinu Sheishim Kapar B'Shar Averos. We see that what they have Kapar B'Shar Averos. Kemo de Matzinu Sheishim Kapar B'Shar Averos, just like they have Kapar B'Shar Averos, Yeshim Kapara B'Tumas Mikdash Kedashav. Good. In other words, in Pasuk Lamed Gimel it says what they have Kapara. Where is that Kapara from? The same Mishtaleach. And just like they have kapara v'sei mishtaleach, it must be they have a kapara for what? For Tumas Mikdash Ukedashav. And Ubemahi Mischapim, Mutav Sheischapu V'Parashal Aroin, to get that kapara for Tumas Mikdash Ukedashav makes more sense to go to the par of Aroin, Shari Huta Mechlalai Eitzel Beisai, since it's Mutav Mechalal Eitzel Beisai, Val Yischapu B'Seir Anase B'Fnim, rather than go to the Seir that was done for the Jews, with the Bnei Yisrael, Shari Huta Mechlalai. Now, the Brisa said, the nafshecha loymar, and if you have a kasha on that, all right, what harioimer base aron berchu es Hashem. Now, mayim nafshecha loymar, guys, what's the kasha that you would have from the chiper bado bad beisai that you're jumping to, right? That you dumped into base aron berchu es Hashem. The chitema beisai ksiv. Beisai means his wife, guys. Guys, what's your raya? Ashaloi, it means the chiper ador about Beisai. How can you stick the kohen there? It says Beisai means his wife. So if you're going to ask that kasha, you know what the answer is? They're also called Beisai. They're also called Beisai. That's the teretz. That's it. That's what it's saying. And if you're going to have Korean Beisai, Shnema Beisai on Baruch Hashem, Yireh Hashem Baruch Hashem. Okay, guys, Geschmack. Good, guys, Geschmack. Okay, now v'haya shel la'am lahachi hu da'asa. Now, why did we say La'am is coming to teach me? La'am is coming to teach me that the Kahanim do not get a kapara in the Seir and Asavifnim. Good? Asher La'am, meaning they can't go according to Rav Shimon, Asher La'am, they can't get a kapara. Or according to Rav Yehuda, they can't get a kapara for what? For Tumas Mikdash Kedashav. But that's what you're coming to teach me. Guys, Asher La'am means unique to the Am and not the Kahanim. The Kahanim aren't getting anything. According to Rav Shimon, nothing. According to Rabbi Yehuda, not Tumas Mikdash Kedashav. Good. Now, Fred the Gemara, Asher La'am Lahachi Yehuda Asi, just to tell me that then? That's not true. Hami Boile, we need it for something else. The Kam Rachmana, Mida'am, Lahave, Hami Boile, Kid the Kam Rachmana, Mida'am, Mid Lahave. Where does Aaron's coin, Aaron's par out of whose pocket? The Seir out of whose pocket? the community. How do you know? Says Asher la'am. So since I need an am to tell me, you might think that's just like the par of Yom Kippur comes from Aaron's own pocket. Maybe the Seir comes from his own pocket also. Kamash no, it comes from the community fund. Min the am, it comes from the am, right? So therefore, since I need that for the am, how could I? Right? Rashi says, "Mid the am lahavi mishal tzibor v'loy mishal kain gadol." Since the par comes from his own pocket, you might think the Seir also comes from his own pocket. He's the one bringing it. Kemash malon ma'am, it comes to the people. So therefore, if I need ma'am to tell me it comes to the people, I can't possibly tell me that the kapara is only for the am and not for the kahanim. As I phrase the Gemara. The Gemara, yes. And for the Gemara, whom Mimba Pasuk says in Pasuk Hey, Shtei in Pasuk, Ume'es Adas B'nei Yisrael Yikach Shnei Sirim. Guys, what does it say? Openly. Ume'es Adas B'nei Yisrael, you should purchase 2 Sirim. So Memela, I know that. So the Ne'am is extra. Ume'es Adas B'nei Yisrael Nafka. Okay, so that's good. Now, what is V'hai Ashaloi? What was the second Ashaloi? What did we say for that is? Right? So be aware, fellas. Look, I'm going to read to you. There's 3 times it says Ashaloi. The first one, v'hikr v'arein es parachatas Ashaloi, v'chiper b'adoi b'ad beisai. The second time, that's the first time. The second time it says twice in the same pasuk. It says v'hikr v'arein es parachatas Ashaloi, v'chiper b'adoi b'ad beisai, v'shocher es parachatas Ashaloi. So you have 3 Ashalois, right? You have 3 Ashalois. 3. Ashaloi, that's to him. So we said Ashaloitis was to teach me that what? That only for him, and therefore the Kohen, somebody else, right? Guys, Ashaloi we darshaned what? The first time, only him. That we needed a pasuk to tell me, no, not limited to him. In other words, since you darshan Ashaloi only the Kohen, you needed a pasuk to tell me, no, it's more expansive. We can bring in more. I'm questioning that premise. Says the Gemara. How what is coming to teach me that what? That other people can be mischaper? That you need a pasuk to tell me that they could? We need all 3. Mishalohu mevi, ve'ini mevi mishal tzibur. Not that it's only mechaper for him, but it comes out of his own pocket. Ashaloi, he has to pay for it. The reason you don't bring from the tzibur is because it's for him and not for the tzibur. But since the other kahanim will get, everyone holds, guys, Tumas Midrash Shekadoshav, everyone, even Rabbi Yehuda, and according to Rabbi Shimon, certainly everything. So I may think that it'll come out of their pocket. Talmud Loima, second time, Ashaloi. What's Ashaloi? No, him. Not the Kahanim, him. Now, Yachal Yavi from his own, Vimhevi kosher. In other words, he's supposed to bring from himself and not from the Kahanim. What happens if he does bring from the Kahanim? What happens if he does? Talmud Loimar Shuv, a third time, Ashaloi, Hakosiv Shana Alav, the Torah repeats it la'akev. The Torah goes ahead, repeats it la'akev. Right? So, in other words, it tells me it better if it be from his pocket, and if it's not from his pocket, it's no good. Bottom line is, since I need the ashalo for that he has to pay for it. It can't be from the kahanim, and if he does, it's no good. I don't have it to teach me ashaloi that he only kaparas for him. That I need a pasuk to tell me it's not only for him. No, it's the kasha, guys. We're leading up to a kasha. You always have to keep your eye on the paper trail. How can you tell me ashaloi means that the kapara is only for him? That you needed a pasuk to tell me that it's not only for him. I need Ashaloi to teach me he pays for it. I need, and we have 3 Ashalois. He pays for it. He can't bring from the Kahanim, and it's Ma'akiv. And for the Gemara, Tana Haka Kashalei. This was the Tana's question. Maishna b'da'am, the loy mischaper, right? It's not mechaper for the Kahanim. The am, the v'chiper, the ser nasa b'fnim, guys, we're all moida. Guys, the ser that's nasa b'fnim, we're all moida, Kahanim have no shachas to it, right? Good. The loy kochasvi bein memoina. You know why? Because it didn't cost them anything. It didn't cost the Kahanim anything. It didn't cost them anything. Okay? Dichsev asher la'am. One second. The Kahanim, they didn't pay anything for it, right? Since they didn't pay anything for it, it should be Ashaloi only for what? In other words, we're saying it's a Svara. You know the Svara, why the Kahanim don't get a piece of the action in the Seir? They didn't pay a dime for it. But they didn't pay a dime for the par either. So you might think what? That they don't get it. They shouldn't get it. And the answer is no. It's like they're all considered his. And therefore what? It's considered paid for. Geschmack teretz, guys. In other words, the kasha was, there's a svara. Since they didn't pay for the am, they don't get from the am, well, they didn't pay for the coin either. Kash malon, Bayside, they consider Bayside. Bish now, again, Bishlam Rav Shimon. Again, now guys, on the par you said two viduyim, and on the same mishtaleach a third viduy. Good. So where is kapara? You have three kaparas, right? Yeah, you have three kaparas. Bishlam Rav Shimon Hainu Dichsiv Trey viduyim vidam apar. You have two viduyim and the dam of the par. Chad keneged seir hanasa b'fnim. One viduy, right? There was no viduy on that. The chad keneged seir hanasa b'chutz. That was the one that was bought on like musaf. The chad keneged seir mishdalech, because they're not going to get a kapara for seir mishdalech. Only Klal Yisrael will be, right? Says Rashi. Hainu dika trei viduy b'par umatan damai. You have three kaparas here: the par and the putting of the blood. Trei viduyim dechsiv trei zmanei v'chiper ba'adoy ba'ad beisai. V'amar b'kaparas devorim akosim medaber. When it says v'chiper ba'adoy, it's not referring to the zrikas adam. V'chiper ba'adoy means it's the lashon of viduy, right? Sharei dayin loy nishchar apar. But when it says v'chiper ba'adoy, they hadn't shechted the par yet. V'ika matan damai, and now you have that when they shechted and they put it hari gimel kaparis. You have three kaparis. L'chaper al gimel averis. On the three averis, shakahanim mischapim. B'par keneged b'par. Shalosh Aveira Yisrael Mischapim B'Sirim. So you have guys, three in the par, Keneged three of the what? Klal Yisrael, right? One Keneged the Sir Hanasa B'Fnim, one Keneged the Sir Hanasa B'Chutz, and one Keneged the Sir Mishtaleach. That's a very good according to Rav Shimon. El Rabbi Yehuda Trei Viduyim V'Dam Apar Lamali B'Chad Viduy V'Damei Sagi. Guys, you only need one viduy, and one because it's only for the kahanim. So Echad Loi V'Echad LeBeisai, one for him and one for the rest of the kahanim. And for the Gemara, the Tanya Rabbi Shmuel, Kachave Midas Hadin, Heges, Mutav Yovai Zaker, V'Yichaper Alachayev. Better to the Zaker should come in Mechaper Alachayev, while Yovai Chayev Yichaper Alachayev. Says Rashi, Geshmak, the last Rashi in the Yovai Zaker V'Yichaper Alachayev. Lefikoch Misvadei Videi Rishon Olav. This is why the Kohen said a Vidoi, V'Al Beisoi. Ula Ache Shenasa Zakai. Guys, now good. That's the first Vidoi do. Cleans up everything. He's clean, and Beisai, everyone's clean. Then what should happen? Vivid comes along. Vivid misvada love val achiv uloyim shavayu chada kaparininu. So now, once he says one vidoy, that the guys, once he's clean for himself, then he can be the second vidoy is what is for his. In other words, it's not Klal Yisrael. Guys, watch. Look at me. Two vidoyim. The question is, you only need one vidoy, right? He says no. He's going to go ahead and be mechaper for Beisai. Let him be clean with his first personal vidui, then say on Beisai, and therefore it's more geschmack. Hadrulach Shevuous Shtayim, Hadrulach Shevuous Shtayim, Hadrulach Shevuous Shtayim. What? Wait a minute, they sprinkled it down. Okay, guys. So we just said, we concluded by a person should be clean before he goes ahead and he asks for something. It's better to be clean, which segues into a tremendous piece that I heard today from Sully Bornstein. Tremendous piece. Listen to this. Very, very profound. If I had to ask you, what's the worst Aveira? Tumas Mitzvah Shekadashav of Chilul Shabbos. What would you say? Tumas Mitzvah Shekadashav of Shvichas Damim. Tumas Mitzvah Shekadashav or not having a siyum. Guys, isn't it crazy? You have a special carbon, a special just for Tumas Mitzvah Shekadashav. We just finished the whole parak. We had a whole chart, right? Sayer that's done for this is Mechaper Yediyah beginning of stuff. With all this Yediyah beginning of stuff is all speaking about Tumas Mitzvah Shekadashav. But that Aveira is not worse than any other Aveira. Adarabba. It's a Chi of Karis. We have many things that are Chi of Karis. We have many that are Mrs. Bezdin. So why do we have a special carbon for what? for Tumas Mikdash Kedusha. What's so unique about it? Right. So he brought in the Mashkiach Rav Matasyahu Zatzal, and he said he quoted a shmuz from him, and based upon the aside of the shmuz, this is what he came up with. Listen to what he said. Yedua that the Tosfos Yontif has a Misha Berach. The Tosfos Yontif has a Misha Berach. What's this Misha Berach for? For people who talk in shul. Talking in shul. The story is that in Tach V'Tat, 1648 and 1649, there was the pogrom of Bogdan Chalmaniski Yamach Shemai V'Zichroi. He's the head of the Cossacks, and the Ukrainians and the Lithuanians, all that people at that part of the Balkans, all over there, they killed. The estimates between 250 and 475,000 Jews by the sword. I mean, a huge amount of people that, because it's called Gezeres Tach V'Tat. And famous stories came out of that, the Shach and the Taz. But the bottom line is that he had a dream, and it was misgalat him in a dream that the reason why they were punished is because they talked in shul. Now, if I'd ask you if the punishment fits the crime, what would you say? It doesn't seem so. I mean, it's like this: they could be learning Torah, they could be doing a million things, correct? But they talked in shul, they didn't have proper covered base medrash. So said Rav Matasyahu like this: said Rav Matasyahu, it's not pshat the aveira caused it, but the aveira of talking shul did, fellas, it caused them. They didn't have the koyach hatfilah anymore. They lost the koyach hatfilah. They couldn't daven anymore. You daven. No, Hashem's not going to listen after you talk in shul. Why should he listen? No, you want you to feel. All of a sudden, you treated shul like this. All of a sudden, you need it. Oh, shreit, you're screaming at the top of your lungs. You lost it, guys. It was the talking in shul was the siba, was the cause that what? Of the cause. The cause is always more important than the symptom. The symptom was they got killed, but the cause was they lost the koyach hatfilah. That's what it did. So this is what Shmuley Bornstein said. I don't know if it's his own, what Mashkiach said it. He said, here you are, it's the holiest day of the year. You're davening, you're being tefillis, and you're being karbonis. What would be if it would be tummy in the makom where you are, in this place of tumah where you are? In order for the kapara to be facilitated, we had to be squeaky clean. Everything had to be tahar, everything be perfect. Therefore, Einachinami, Tumas Mikdash Kedusha is no different than any other Aveira. But the Inyan Kapara, when you want a Kapara and your Kapara is going to come through Karbonis, you better be sure that that everything is on the up and up. I thought it was a beautiful deher, and how to go ahead and explain a difficult problem. What? I think it's geschmack. It's very geschmack, guys. Yeah? Do you like it? Very good. It's very good. Okay. Chaim Klagsman sent it to me. I'll give him a shout out. Chaim Klagsman sent it to me. He goes, do you hear this? I didn't, but now I did. So now you did. It's very, very nice. A very nice piece to explain why it's a preparatory step, right? That's what it was. It's not the sin itself. It's what the sin would go ahead and stop from happening. That's the problem.
That's why the Kohen had to bring his carbon first.
That's why the Kohen had to bring his carbon first. And this is why it says over here. That's the vidui over here. That's the segue. The Kohen had to be mizvada on himself first. Why? Oh, now he's Zakai. Now he can go ahead and follow this. That's the beautiful segue from okay. Now, really, it's not really such of a hadron because we're going to go back to the first Mishnah. So we said Yidiyas Atuma Shtayim Shein Arba. Guys, let's go outside. We spoke about there's four possibilities. There's four possibilities, right? You know your tamei, and you know your tamei, and you forgot that you're tamei, and you went into the base of Mikdash. You know you're tamei, and you forgot, and you ate kachim. Good, and then you found out. So those are two. Now you have Did I say you know your tamei and you forgot? Okay. You forgot your tamei and you went to the base of Mikdash. You forgot your tamei and you ate what, and then you remembered. Okay. The other two is you know your tamei, you don't know what's kachim. You know your tamei, you don't know what's the base of Mikdash. That's four. And all these cases, you're going to be an oil of except like Rabbi Akiva, we're going to see at the end, he doesn't hold a what of Tumas Mikdash of Yedias Kodesh. Good. So therefore, Yedias Atuma says the Mishnah Shtaim Shein Arba Nitma V'Yoda, and you right, and you knew you were Tamei. V'Nelma Mimenu Atuma V'Zacher Es Hamikdash. You knew you were in the base of Hamikdash. That's one. And then and you're going to find out at the end. Nelma Mimenu Hegdish. You forgot that you knew you were Tamei. You forgot your Tamei, and then Nelma Mimenu Hegdish. You. I'm sorry. Let me read it again. Nelma Mimenu Atuma V'Zacher Es Hegdish. You remembered not Hegdish. The base of Hamikdash. You remembered that the food was Kodesh. And then what? And then you forgot you were Tamei. Or you knew it was Hegdish, but you forgot you were Tamei. Hegdish V'Zacher Atuma. That's number two. Nelmi menu zeh either one. V'achos hakodesh v'layada u'meshach l'yada harizeh b'alav yared. Okay, that's so we had two. Nitma v'yada v'nelma mimenu tuma v'zachar samigdash. So now you were tamei and you forgot you knew you were tamei and you forgot your tamei, but you remember the Beis Hamikdash. Nelmi mimenu migdash v'zachar satuma. You knew you were tamei, but you forgot you in Beis Hamikdash. So that was four. Now, okay, all these cases again. Those are the four cases I just spoke out. They spoke it out in terms. They put it together. They linked it together. They linked it together. Not tamei, kodesh, tamei, and tamei migdash tamei. Okay. Echad nichnas la'azara. Whether you nichnas to Ezras Yisrael, the echad nichnas to Tosefes Azara, the Meyai Shafet fellas, they went ahead and malachim, they added onto the Azara. We're going to see there's a process of adding onto the Azara, marching around and extending. They'd extend the Yerushalayim and they would extend, right? She'ei Sifin ala ir v'ala Azaros ela b'melech v'navi v'urim v'tomim v'sanhedrin shal shivim b'yachad. And the Gemara is going to go over all of these things. This Mishnah is the same as the first parak. We're going ahead and we're counting what? Right? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? First place that Mikdash was? First place that Mikdash. Shafat. Ubishtei taidais, you'd have two loaves from the carbon taida, ubishir and Gemara and Farish, ubeznim mahalchin, ushtei taidas achrayim, v'chol yisrael achrayim. Again, so this is a procedure of expanding on what? On the dimensions of the Beis Hamikdash. Hapinimius ne'acheles, the one that the challah that was panemius will be eaten. We're going to have machlokes which one the panemius is. Achitzoina, and the outer one, the surface is burnt. And we're going to learn all of these out. The chol shlei nasis b'chol elu, anyone who does. We don't go ahead and use all these things, the melech, the navi, the umvatum, and the bezdin. If you're missing any of these things, hanichnas is sham. If a tame would enter there, ein chayav alel, you not be chayav for what? The tumas mikdash kadashav, because it doesn't have that kedusha of the azara. Okay, now, until now we've been discussing that you're tame and you went in. Until now we've been discussing that you're tame and you went in. Now we'll discuss that what? If you are tamei and you find out you contract tuma inside, we're going to find out if you contract tuma inside what happens over here. Okay, you went in. Okay, you went in. You're good. You went in your code. And now, so nitma ba'azara, v'nelma mimena, and then hatuma. You got tamei in the azara. You knew you were tamei, and then you forgot. V'zachar es hamigdash, and you remembered you were in the base of Hamikdash. Nelma himenu migdash, or you forgot you were in the migdash. V'zacha tuma, and you remember tuma. Nelma himenu zeh v'zeh v'shtachave, and you bow down. Oisheshah b'chtei hishtachaviyah, and you stayed inside the amount of time that you could have bowed down. Oishe baloi ba'arucha, or you went out a long way. Rashi says all these is halacha mashmi misinai. Chayev, you be chayev a carbon oil of yared. B'ketzara, however, if you went out a short way, then pata, you would be pata. If you went out a short way, what? You would be pata. Again, this Mishnah is the same as the first parak, fellas, where we brought brought all the if you go into Mishnayos, these are all separate Mishnayos, like 4 or 5 Mishnayos. But this is the whole parak. And then the Gemara is going to elucidate the whole parak. Elucidate, like that word existed before Art Scroll. Did you elucidate anything before Art Scroll? No. Harold just said he hallucinated. He hallucinated. Yeah. Okay. If Aaron Schechter is that's how. Anyway, weiter. Zuhi mitzvahs asay shebemigdash shein chayav malay aleihem. This is a mitzvah asay shebemigdash she'ein chayav maleihem. Now, this is a very, very cryptic line. Very, very cryptic line. And what's it going on, fellas? It's going on Vayikra Dalid. It's called the Par Helam Dava of the Tzibur, which we learned earlier as the Chatas Penimius, or the Par Koin Mashiach. That if they blow psak in Issachar and the roiv of the Am acts upon it, they have to bring a special par, not a seir, but a par. And it's brought inside, and the dam is sprinkled in front of the proicha 7 times, and its blood is put on the mizbeach. Let's see Rashi here, guys. Sui mitzvah seshem migdash. The yesh kan mitzvah sasei b'yishalchum min amachne. There's a mitzvah sasei, guys. You're tummy inside. You contract the tummy inside. There can't be a low sasei. There's a low sasei not going in, but you're in already. You're in already. So what do? There's a mitzvah to leave. V'chol tummy lenefesh. She'ein chayav mal aleha. What does that mean? She'ein chayav aleha bezdin par b'hoira. Bezdin's not going to be chayav a par if they paskin that you could do this. V'loi koyin Mashiach kidim farish b'gemara. Good. So this again a cryptic line that says this asay. If Bezdin would say, well, oh, you don't have to go out the long way. You can go out the short way. You can go out the long way, or there's no problem being in there. Then if they blew that psak, they would not go ahead and bring a carbon oil of yared for that. They would not exclude par helam dava. Now, says the Gemara, on which one would they bring? Says Ezehu mitzvah aseishe benida shechayev alaha. Now, all of a sudden, you see the word nida there. Say, what's going on? Look at Rashi, guys. Ve'ezeh mitzvah aseishe benida. I did the Tana B'Hariyos since in Masech the Hariyos, which is discussing the Bar Helam Davar. Ein chayav ala sei shebemigdash, aval chayav ala sei shebenida. Ketani hacha, ezehi mitzvah say shebemigdash, ve'ezehi shebenida. In other words, the reason that we need it to be consistent with the Mishnah in Mad in Hariyos. Okay, so what would psak be? Ve'ezehi mitzvah say shebenida chayelaha. Hayimeshamesh imat tahira. A guy is having tashmish with his wife, and she's tahar. For Amr loy nitmesi, and in middle of relations, she says that what? I'm tummy. What's he supposed to do? So what he's supposed to do, fellas, is wait till his aver subsides, and then pull out. However, upirish miyad, if he goes ahead and he pulls out where the aver is still hard, then chayiv. Why? Because going out is the same as going in, and therefore he would have been considered being boil nida. He'd be considered boil nida. So let's say Bezdin would paskin, it's okay to pull out even when your aver is hard. On that they would bring a carbon par helam davar. That they bring a par helam davar. You're inside the Beis Hamikdash, yes, and they tell you to go out. They go out. You have to go out the shortest way. They say you can go out the long way. Yeah, that's what. Look at Rashi. Says Rashi Heshi. Hainu dumya da aseisha b'migdash she'iru lo yatuma misheba beheter lidei knisa. In other words, you came in beheter, you started tashmish beheter, and then in the middle you became tamei. Okay, chayiv. Okay, that's so therefore weiter. Rabbi, so weiter. It's not an oliviyore.
No, in case of the mikdash. If you went out the short way, there's nothing.
Correct, you're part of. Rabbi Eliezer Oimer Hasheretz. Now, if you guys, you might remember Vayikra Hey when we discussed the carbon oliviyore. A nefesh shesiga b'chol davar tamei I've been chayat tameya, I've been stahema tameya, I've been sheretz tamei, v'nela mimeno v'u tamei v'ashem. And with Ashem he said is Tumas Midrash Gadashav. Oikiga b'Tumas Adam. So it's describing. So now, Rabbi Eliezer Omer Hasheretz. He touched the sheretz. V'nela mimena. Alalama sheretz chayiv. V'in chayiv alalama migdash. So like Rabbi Eliezer fellas, in order to be chayiv the oil of yored, you had to forget you were tamei. If you knew you were tamei, but you forgot you were in the migdash, or you forgot that it was kachim, you would not be chayiv. In other words, he agrees with Rabbi Akiva in that prat. Rabbi Akiva, remember, Rabbi Akiva couldn't be the Tana of the Mishnah because he only had what? He only had the Shevuous Shtayim Shein Arba. He didn't have Yediyas Atuma. Rabbi Shmuel didn't have Rabbi Shmuel had Yediyas Atuma. He didn't have the other one. So didn't have Shvuah. Rabbi Akiva Omer. Rabbi Akiva says, "V'nela mimeno v'u tamei al helam tumah chayev ein chayev al helam migdash." So l'chayra, Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Akiva are saying the same thing. You would not be chayev on forgetting that you're in the base of the migdash, or forgetting its kachim. You'd only be chayiv if you got your tamei. So the Gemara is going to have to say, "My binayu." What's the difference between Rabbi Akiva and what and Rabbi what and Rabbi Eliezer? Rabbi Shmuel Omer, we had this earlier. V'nelam shtei pamim l'chayiv al tuma val helam migdash. Rabbi Shmuel says Yechayiv what on halama tuma. You know Yechayim shtayim shein arba, right? Yechayim twice. Okay. Now I sent out the next Gemara is just a little. I always my rule of thumb is if I have a problem with something. Some of you might as well, probably not, but might happen. So I always send out just to cover my bases. So I sent out something. I sent out two things today. Okay, I'll give it to you both in a second. You see a chart in front of you? Thomas, you see it? Guys, see this from the desk of Rabbi Eliezer Stern? You have that? I wrote something out there. It's the second one. The second one I sent out. The second one and the first one are combined together in the second one. Do you have a chart there, anybody? No? You have it.
Yeah.
Guys, it says it's yeah. Okay, guys, so you have it? You good? Okay, guys, watch. Rabbi Papa is going to say, why do you say Shtayim Shen Arba? It's really 6. Why are there 6? You were Tamei, you forgot it, and you remember your Tamei. That's 1. You Kodesh, you forgot it's Kodesh, you remember it's Kachim. Migdash, Halama, Migdash. So that's 6. What is Shtayim Shel Arba? Again, you knew you were Tamei, you forgot you were Tamei, you knew you were Tamei. You knew you were Tamei, and then you forgot it's Kodesh, and you're right? Or Migdash, the same thing. So then the Gemara says, 1 second, if you're going that way, I have 8. Because guys, if you get number one should be broken up to 2 parts. Guys, Tumah, there's 2 possibilities. I'm Tamei, and what did I forget? That I'm in the base of Migdash, or I'm Tamei, and what did I forget? I ate Kachim. So really, it should be 8. Tumah's Kodesh. In other words, take number 1 and break it up into 2 parts, guys. Tumah's Kodesh Tumah, Tumah's Migdash Tumah, right? So in other words, that's what the Gemara says. And so again, it's you're taking the number 1, and you're breaking it up because what was the halama on? You forgot your tummy vis-a-vis what? So it could be vis-a-vis 2 things. Guys, you good? Okay, I think I was helpful for me, so it just helped. So now, Amra Papa La Abaya. Shtayim Shein Arba, Shtayim Shein Shesh. It's 6. Yediyas Hatoma Tchila V'Saif, Yediyas Hegdash Tchilas V'Saif, Yediyas Migdash Tchila V'Saif. Ul Taimech said Abaya to Papa Timnaya Havin, the Ikka Tuma de Kodesh V'Tuma de Migdash Tchila V'Saif. If you take the word Tameh and then you go, you forgot that, you forgot either you in the base of Migdash or you forgot that you ate Kachim, so that's a total of 8. Says Mahole Kasha, that's not shver. Shem Tuma Achasi. It's only 1, it's not, It's shame tumah. It's your tummy, and you forgot your tummy. So whatever you forgot your tummy for is not important. But it's what? It's the tumah. Shame tumah zachasi. Okay, good. So guys, go back to the chart. Forget the other two. You broke it up to two parts. You still have the first part, right? It's 6. It's not 4. It's 6. It's not 4. It's 6. On a papa lo'olam timnaya have. It's taka 8. It's taka 8. Our boy kamaisa d'lei maisin l'dei carbon loy kachoshev. Our boy basraisa the maisin l'dei carbon kachoshev. Guys, in order to be an oil of yored, guys, what do you need? You need your dia at the end. In order to bring the oil of yored, you need yediyah at the end. When it said Shtayim Shein Arba, we only considered the yediyah at the end, because that's the one that's going to lead to the carbon oil of yored. Without that, not. Without that, you're going to be dependent upon the Sarah Nasa Bachutz. But if yediyah in the beginning, you see there's Nasa B'fnim. Now, Fika di Amri, the other way around. Amra Papa, La'olam Timnaya Hava, it's 8. For Arba Kamaisa, we're not going to consider the lesson of B'chal Torah Kula Kachoshev. The 4 Kamaisa that doesn't exist B'chal Torah Kachoshev. Our boy Basraisa the Isna B'chal Torah Kula like Kachoshev. What does that mean, fellas? In order for you to be chayiv a carbon chatas for chaylev, do you have to know beforehand, or if you eat chaylev and you find out afterwards you're chayiv? You don't have to know beforehand. Eat dam. Any chi of chorus, you don't have to know beforehand. Only where, by what? By Tumas Mitish Gedashav. So Memela, we're not considering what? The previous 4. We only consider, guys, this teretz is the exact opposite of the first one. The first one, we're only considering the latter 4. Over here, we're only considering the first 4. We're only considering the Isna B'chal Torah Kol Loika Chashiv. Right? The Besraisa, the B'chal Torah Kol Chashiv. The first one that doesn't exist, we're being machshir the first 4 rather than the latter 4. Now, I sent out another piece, guys. Why is it like that? What's the difference between Yediyah Satuma and Kol Torah Kula? So that is that is this. It's the Rambam. What?
The one with your thumb on it?
The one with my thumb on it? Yeah, you see the one with my thumb on it? Thank you, Baruch.
There's the Rambam's thumb.
And that's it. Not the Rambam's thumb. That would be worth a lot of money. Guys, this is Perik Achadesa from Shigagos. Good? Shigagos. Shina yesh b'shgagos tuma mikdash gedashav, mashen came b'shak krisais. The chorus that's associated with tumas mikdash gedashav is different than any other krisis. Shekola krisis kivin sheshagag. Once you did the averi b'shoigeg, v'noidala b'soif shechata, and the end you found out you did an avera. Here's the key. Afal pi shaloi hoisla yediyah b'tchila. You didn't know beforehand. You didn't know that it was chaylev beforehand. Harizeh chayv chatos. Aval tumas mitush shekadashav eina mevi carbon oil of yored asher tehela yediyah letuma v'yediyah lekaidesh oil migdash tchila. Again, he brings in all 3, right? V'yediyah letuma v'yediyah lekaidesh oil migdash b'soif v'helam bein tayim. The 6, right? Tuma, migdash, and kaidesh. You have to know beginning and the end. Now, then he brings in case side. He brings in all the cases, and now let's go to the end. Uminayin shedin shigagais tumas migdash ukadashav kachu, that you need a yediyah in the beginning. Kashari b'shar shigagais nemar ba'asaisa achas mi mitzvahs Hashem asher lo sesena. Anyone who does one of the mitzvahs of Hashem which he wasn't supposed to do, v'yashem, oy hoida lav chatasai, or it becomes known to him as chait. Kivin sheyada b'soif, since he finds out in the end. Afa pishla yada b'chila, even though he didn't know at first, right? Therefore, what? Yechayev. The pasuk says you only have to know in the end. However, uvetumas mitush shekadoshav nemar v'nela mimenu v'hu yoda v'oshem. Now, what does it mean v'nela mimenu? Miyachash nema v'nela mimenu michlal shahoysa sham yediyah. To forget something, you had to know something. So memela, when it says v'nela mimenu, it must be you had a yediyah in the beginning. V'nemar v'hu yoda. And then it says, and then he finds out. Holamarta should sarach yediyah betchila v'yediyah b'soif v'helam bein tayim. So it's exeris hakasif. It's the Gzeres HaKosav. Says the Rambam by it says that you did, you weren't supposed to do. It does the same thing about Yediyah. But over here where it says Vehela Mimenu, what does Vehela mean? It's hidden. It's hidden what you once knew. Then what? If you become known. So you see that, well, you need the beginning and the end. So that's why, so now that teretz is geschmack. You know why the first four are counted? Because the first four is the chiddush. Because b'chol haTorah you don't need the first four. Only by what Tumas Migdash do you need the first four. And that's why we said Yediyah Satuma Shtayim Shenar. But that's Pshan Diyakad Yamri. That's Pshan Diyakad Yamri. Very geschmack. Okay, let's finish up here. A few more 4 cases. Boira Papa. Nel Mimeno Mahu. If it becomes hidden from him, Nel Mimeno Hilchas Tuma Mahu. Now Hechidami. What do you mean? Ilamed lo yada isheretz tamei itzavedei tamei zil karbe rav. Who go ask the kid? They'll tell you. Loilam the yada betum isheretz ukegoing the noga b'chadatsha. But he doesn't know the shear. Now the shear of a sheretz, guys, is a lentil bean, not a kazayas, not a beitza, not a kaseves. It's a lentil bean. It's tiny, right? Because that's the shear when it's created. That's how big it is. That's how big it is. He didn't know the shear. It's mitama or not. My, even the other mitama sheretz ba'olam yediyahu. Or dilma even the actual yada imitami la mitama halamahi. But what is the idea that he knows the sheretz is tummy enough, even though he doesn't know the shear? Well, he has to know the shear, and that Gemara says teku. Boy Rav Yirmiyah ben Bavel sha'al l'Eretz Yisrael. Ben Bavel goes up to Eretz Yisrael. V'nelam imenu makam migdash. He doesn't know where the makam migdash is. Mahu. I'll leave it the man. I'll leave it the Bekiva, the boy Yediyah betchila, halay mechayev al migdash. Guys, he's not chayev if you forget the base of migdash. You have to forget your tummy, right? That it can't be Rabbi Kiva. I'll leave it the Yishmael, the mechayev al helen migdash, halay boy Yediyah betchila. He said he doesn't even need Yediyah betchila. Rabbi Yishmael said in the first parak, guys, if you had a Yediyah besayf, you're being an Elav Yored. Guys, Rabbi Yishmael said even the Yediyah in the end, you're going to be an Elav Yored. Like Tzricha Aliba the Rebbe, the boy Yediyah Betchila, Machayev al Helen Migdash. Like Rebbe, who was the Tana of the Mishnah, who says you need both, beginning and end, and you would include forgetting the Beis Hamikdash, or V'Ami Yediyah Beis Rabbi Shmei Yediyah, even, and that you learned it in yeshiva is enough of a Yediyah. My, Kivin the Yada Dik and Migdash Boilam Yediyah he, I don't know, Kivin the Mekayim Yada Le Halamahi, and then that the Gemara says, Teku. You have a minion? Can I make Hashem Kodesh Baruch Hu Zakas Yisrael?